You ready to nerd out about riding techniques? A heads up, before we start, if you haven't checked out part 1 of our conversation with Nick Ienatsch, go back and listen to that first, because we're jumping right back in where we left off. Here in part 2, Nick talks about his philosophy behind the instruction at Yamaha Champions Riding School, including how learning techniques at the track can improve your street riding skills. Nick drops a lot of data-backed riding knowledge covering traction, throttle control, and even how whether you're left or right-handed can affect your riding. And what's the point of improving your riding? Well, according to Nick, it's so you can build confidence, maximize having fun, and most importantly, avoid potentially dangerous situations, because the costs of doing it wrong are too great not to take seriously. This is Nick Ienatsch, Part 2. I'm your host, Mark Long, and you're listening to Driven to Ride. You've got the Champ School, you've got Champ Street, and now you've got Champ U. Can you tell me a little bit about Champ U? Because that seems to kind of be the biggest differentiator or the newest thing that's going on that is kind of a departure from what you're usually doing.
Yeah, well, thanks, Mark. That is, Champ U was we've talked about it forever. We've talked about putting together a program like this forever because we're very expensive. We're hard to get to. I mean, if you live in Idaho, we have nothing near you. So now you're traveling and da-da-da. So we knew that. But we also knew, and I know this sounds kind of hoity-toity, but motorcycling is not growing in America. We've got 6,000 riders a year dying on motorcycles in America over the last 5, 6, 8 years. So it's not getting any better. It's because people are taught incorrectly. We believe, and it's provable, that some of the new rider training out there is incorrect. And it's incorrect taught in a parking lot at 22 miles an hour. And it gets fatal when speeds come up to highway speeds. Literally fatal techniques are being taught. You can draw a direct correlation to what's being taught to where the fatalities are. It's provable. Get into that pretty heavily. So I'm kind of pissed about it. But Champ U was a chance for us to say, you know what? Let's put this out there. Let's put 6 to 8 hour videos together on traffic survival, how to survive in traffic. Because how many people said, "Oh, I'm done riding on the street. It's too dangerous." Well, they're literally in the wrong place. They're literally not covering their brakes. They've never practiced their braking. So anyway, and then we put one out on fitness. We put one out on track days. How to do track days correctly. What is a track day? That's like a 10-hour video. But the main one is Core, Champ U Core. And that is going through our curriculum on video. And they're all about $100. I don't know what they cost, but they are a bargain because it's all in there. And that only came about because of COVID. COVID hit.
Oh, sure.
And everybody was unsure how much teaching should we be doing? I mean, should we be gathering groups together? There was a lot of lack of knowledge about COVID at that time. And so we were really worried about it. So we decided, you know what, now's our time. Let's put together Champ U. It was spearheaded by all the senior guys and also Lemore Shore. He's our marketing guy. This guy came to the school years ago and still loves riding. This is a guy that is the marketing guru for these huge companies, right? I mean, we could never afford him. We could never possibly, he wouldn't even answer our telephone call if he wasn't a motorcycle rider, but he so believes in it. It's changed his life. It's changed his children's lives. It's changed his friends' lives. And so Lemore comes along, says, let's do Champ U. Let's put it together. And we all dove in on it and killed it. And Champ U was a chance for us to say, this is what we believe the sport should be. This is how we believe it should be done for these reasons, and do it as well as we can. We aren't crazy about some of the video production, but that's down the road as we get better and better at it. It got better and better. So I think if anybody's out there like, man, you know what, I really love motorcycle riding, but I'm not quite happy with my motorcycle riding. Spend $100 and maybe 5, 6, 8 hours of your day. It's yours for life. And it has been a game changer. At one point, and maybe it's still the same, we had 5 stars on Google reviews. We had a 5-star Google review rating. Yeah. And Google called us and said, what are you guys doing to fake this rating? I'm not kidding. They said, what are you doing to fake this rating? How are you hacking the system? And we're we have no idea what you're talking about, but it was that good. And I think it's in 123 countries now. It'll never be a big profit margin for us because we didn't do it for profit. We did it. We have to get the word out, brother, because if we don't do it, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? Someone, we just had the sons of one of our instructors, Aaron Herman. I should have mentioned him, Aaron Herman, Andy. I mean, all these guys. His son, Aaron's son, Ryder, went to a new rider school. He's turned 16, went to get his license. And he was told to not cover the brake. He was told, do not cover the brake lever. Do not ride with your fingers up on the brake lever. 100%
Wow.
wrong. You're now a second later getting to the brake lever. That second puts you 88 feet closer to the problem at 60 miles an hour. So a lot of issues out there. We had two of our instructors send Mark Bodecker sent his son to a new rider school. The son was taught use the rear brake over the front brake. So there's a lot of things going on, and I'm not casting stones at them, but we have tried to join them. We are the only MSF Tier 3 school in the world. So we're trying to join them. We're trying to turn that ship, and we see it turning, but we need to turn it faster because someone's hearing the wrong message this week. And so we need to turn it faster. And Champ U does that. We did a Champ U new rider school, new riders Champ U. So anybody who thinks about riding, your son or daughter wants to ride, your wife or husband wants to ride, buy Champ U new rider, because you will hear and you will see why we teach it slightly different than what you might learn in a parking lot.
Yeah, no, I think it's a really great way to have accessibility to that knowledge. Because sometimes I imagine too that people just, like you said, need it to be explained in a certain way or shown, okay, here's why we do it this way. Here's that kind of going back to that philosophy behind things. And, it makes it more accessible to maybe somebody who's in a different part of the country, because you guys travel all over the country to put on Champ School. And, it just, like you said, spreads that knowledge. Because the other thing, and MSF classes aren't really being offered as much anymore. When I got my license, it wasn't through the MSF, it was the basic rider course, but I could sign up at any point during the summer and go to the local community college and have it, over a weekend or whatever. And, you can't find that anymore. It's not even accessible really, which is a bummer.
I did not know that. That's interesting. Well, maybe they're revamping. I know they're being more open-minded in some of their curriculums, and that's part of it. So if you watch Champ U New Rider, you will understand that the brakes don't just control your speed. That's what everybody thinks. I'm going to brake because I'm going too fast. But brakes also control steering geometry. So if you let go of your brakes before you steer your motorcycle, the fork rebalance, steering geometry gets slightly worse. We're not saying you won't make it around the corner, but we will say you will not make it around the corner when you're going faster. We've got to trail brake pressure into the corner to control speed, but also steering geometry, and through steering geometry, contact patch. If you let go of the brakes before you steer, which a lot of people are being taught, front rebounds, steering geometry gets worse for steering, but the contact patch goes from squished out to very narrow. So now you're turning in a bike that's got rake and trail numbers big and a small contact patch. So that's the problem. It might work at the speed limit. Let's say that it's a 35 mile an hour corner, but when you get to it, all of a sudden it's 15 miles an hour going the other way, and you're 20 miles an hour too fast. So you're only going 35, but it's a 15 mile an hour corner, and some kid stole the sign, and you're 20 miles an hour too fast. And so now you're off the brakes before you turn. You cross the center line. If there's a car there, you're dead. If not, you will maybe survive it. So that's the problem. See, you can't teach. You can't teach things that don't work at speed. You can't teach things that don't work on a metal bridge in the rain, on a dirt road, on a used tire, on a new tire. That won't work. It's always got to be the top level information. So that's why, if, for instance, if your daughter shows up at the school, it will never, and she wants to do track day, it'll never be okay for her to enter the brake zone with her butt in the middle of the seat. It won't be okay because she's going slow. It will never be okay because someday she will go fast if she sticks with this message. So that's how we teach at that level. And that gets across in all these programs. It's very clear, because that's a chance for us to say, do this because of this. Let us show you.
Yeah. Well, and that's it. You kind of answered a question that I had in the chamber already, was that, talking about the stuff that you learn on the track, how does it apply to the street? But I think you covered that perfectly. I mean, it's a direct kind of one-to-one thing where it's the bike geometry does, and the physics don't change whether you're on a track or on the street. It's all the same. And so, it makes perfect sense to learn this at like you said, at speed, and, arguably in a more safe track environment that's purpose built for that,
Exactly. And I'm so glad you said it that way, that the physics don't change. The motorcycle doesn't know where it is. The tires don't know where they are. And what's happened at the school, Chris Paris, is this insane racer, right? World Super Sport for 2 years. He's won 125 national championships here and in Canada. He's just this insane racer. Never went street riding. I know for a fact that Chris's appreciation of what we teach at Champ School doubled once he went street riding. Now he's got a street license, and he now he rides on the street where people are dying, and realizes that we are the savior for this. And now Robertino Pietri, another big time racer, Isaiah Davis has his street license. Cody Wyman is now leading Harley Davidson rides for Harley Davidson. So all these road racers that wouldn't ride on the street are now riding on the street, some being paid to ride on the street. And they are realizing, oh my gosh, I see what the school does for these people. And what Robertino will say, and first of all, anybody listening, there's no way Robertino, Isaiah, Cody, Chris, none of them would work at YCRS if the message wasn't the truth, right?
Sure.
None of them would work there. And every one of them has a voice at the table to say, you know what, we could do this better. Let's tweak that. Let's play with this. And that's why it keeps evolving. So Robertino will tell his students when they ask this question, he'll say, you want to leave a 30% margin on the street, 30% headroom on the street, especially in lean angle. So everybody who enjoys street riding, once you get into those big lean angle numbers, you're running out of options. You're running out of break points, the way we describe it. So you have to be careful with that, because once you get into those big lean angle numbers, then we have gravel problems. We have a car pulling out in front of you. Your speeds are so high. So I street ride, every week. Love street riding. I will leave that margin for the racetrack. At the racetrack, I'll push to 100%. At the street, I'll go to 70. And that means RPM, brake pressure available, lean angle. And once you get that figured out, and I wrote about it a lot in the years, and now you're riding with your friends who leave that margin, you're riding together instead of racing, things change. And what you do to get the yayas is go to the racetrack and do these track days, and then you can push and truly carry speed.
Yeah. So you intentionally scale back on the street. How do you make that intentional kind of choice? Because it's easy where it's like, okay, everything's clicking. I'm having a good time. I know this corner. It's a great day. Everything's, how do you intentionally kind of downshift, not to use the word downshift, I guess in this term, but how do you kind of set the expectation when you're street riding like that intentionally?
Once you go to the racetrack, and I hope everybody does, you can take any bike you want. Street legal bike, you could take a dirt bike, I'm sure, but you can take any bike you want, go do a track day. They'll take care of you. They'll put you in the new group. They'll give you a coach. If you're too fast for the new group, they'll put you up in the middle group. They'll take care of you. Every track day company wants you there. They're looking forward to having you there. They'll take good care of you. I promise. If you're not getting taken care of, go see the boss and say, hey, I'm not getting taken care of, and they will take care of you. So go do a track day, and you will see the safety on a racetrack. Have you done them, Mark?
No, I haven't. And it's more and more looking like I'm going to need to at some point in the future.
Well, we would love to get you to the school. Obviously, come do something with us, and it's a great way to learn it. But you go to the racetrack, you'll see the ambulance sitting there, literally a minute away from any crash. You'll see all the safety of it, no oncoming traffic, no gravel, and you will realize what you are dealing with on the street. And truly, I can't tell you how many people have said, once I went to the racetrack, I slowed down on the street. So really? That's a big thing. Yes. So, but specifically, anybody who's struggling, we all do, all the racers do. All of us struggle with trying to go too fast on the street. But if you will realize that if you'll just do this, if you'll pick up your brakes for the corner 1% early, pick them up 2% earlier than you think, that puts you in control of your speed, geometry, and contact patch. Now, when you tip into the corner with your brakes on, tip in with your brake light on, trail braking into the corner, and the elk is standing there. Let's make it an elk because they're really big. The elk is standing there around the blind corner. You've already got your brake pads against your rotors. You can stop that bike in your lane. Every student that comes to any one of our programs stops their bike mid-corner online dozens of times because it's such a big thing. So all of a sudden you start to realize, man, I've got so many things out here. So I'll break my brakes up 1 point earlier. I'll tip into the corner with my brakes on, and I'll get to the decision point of the corner. And that is simply, especially in Colorado, where we are, Salt Lake, you've ridden in Idaho, especially when you have these blind corners. If you get the bike into the decision point, which is the point at which you can see out of the corner, which can take a long time on long radius corners, if you get to that decision point, not accelerating, you're going to be a lot safer for a long, long time. If you're accelerating before you can see the exit, now when the corner tightens, there's a car in your lane, there's a deer, there's a piece of wood, make up your excuse. All of a sudden, you've got the weight off the front, forks extended. Now, to get the weight back onto the front, you've got to close the throttle, pick up the brakes all the way down. So try to get to that decision point with just coming off the brakes, coasting or at the most neutral throttle. And those are two ways. Pick up your brakes earlier, get to the decision point without accelerating yet. That really helps you. But it's an overall idea of everybody in your group. And my groups are very small. I ride with very, very, very few people. In fact, I think it's fair to say none of us ride with people who haven't been graduates or instructors now, because it's such a big thing. But if everybody in your group knows I'm going to ride together, we're riding together, we have a leader, a follower, we change that around, then it gets to be really good. But do a track day to see how safe it can be, and that will give you that 30% margin idea on the street. So if I am anywhere near touching a foot peg, if anybody in your group is hanging off trying to drag the knee, I promise you, and I hate to preach because this sport proves itself, I really don't have to say much. Yeah. I promise you they'll be in trouble someday. It'll be something unknown. Car pulls out from their driveway. It'll be not their fault, but they have no extra limit. So leave it at 30 limit margin. And if you're with a group that doesn't want to do that, leave the group. I'll ride alone or with my wife or with Norman, some of these instructors Keith Culver, I'll ride with those guys because we ride together. The pace is good, but it's not at the limit.
Yeah, no, it actually, I mean, having you explain it like that, it makes sense. It's like you have that opportunity at the track to go 100% where, there's not necessarily less to go wrong, but there's more safety and there's, more contingencies involved, where if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have cell service and all that, and you're riding it, that makes perfect sense. It's like, you can do it at the track. So there's no reason to necessarily try it on the street.
Yeah. And I am a realist, I really do believe. I'm not theoretical. I don't have a lot of theories. I do believe in reality. And, we buy these motorcycles. I ride an MT10, FJR. I buy big motorcycles. I want to enjoy the motor. And there'll be places on every ride I can enjoy the engine. I can enjoy things and let her go. So I want to be real about this. It's the riders who go fast everywhere all the time that finally run out of time. I wrote an article, and it was basically, how can we avoid things going wrong when they go wrong? How can we avoid the deer jumping over the guardrail at that moment? The car pulling out at that moment? How can we not be there at the moment? How can we be ahead of it or behind it? And it was this idea to not push time. Don't keep pushing time. So if you're hanging with anybody, riding with anybody who they push all the time, push, we're late, let's go. They go down the driveway fast. They go down their crowded intersect. Everything's fast. Let's go fast all the time. That will, in my opinion, that'll catch you. So when you go street riding with Eddie Lawson, which I've done, he will cruise down the road, cruising through town on the way to the crest and cruising along. You just wouldn't even know anything about him. And boy, once he gets on the crest, there's places he can see through the corners. He lets it go, has some fun. Oh, now we're getting into the tight stuff with the buildings and signs that say hidden driveways, bring the pace back down. So if you will get that idea to not push time, it would be great. And if you're riding with people, and I hate to preach, but if you're riding with people who push everywhere they go, through traffic, lane splitting, you will meet their family in the hospital. I promise you. So be careful with that. Preaching. I'm done preaching.
No, that's good advice. And I will make sure we pause the preaching at least for a little bit. But it's fascinating to hear. So I love it. And, but talking about, the bikes, let's go talk about you mentioned that you do have some offers where you can bring your motorcycle, to Champ School, but you supply the motorcycles for Champ School. Can you tell me about, obviously Yamaha, but kind of how you landed on the bikes you chose and what they are and what you can kind of expect from them?
Right. We can get R9s, R7s, MT09s, MT07s, MT03s, R3s, R1s. R1s we don't rent very much, but we could to certain graduates, we will. MT09 SPs. So we can get that variety of bikes. We can get a Tenere sometimes. We can get the Tracer GT. So we can get you these bikes arranged. You can bring your own bike. So don't discount that. You can bring your own bike. We've had some racers, especially ARMA guys. Do you know about ARMA?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We have ARMA guys that will bring their old racer, but they'll show up and ride our bikes day one. So you can do that. Ride our bike day one, ride your bike day two, whatever you want to do. And they're on a Bridgestone S23, which is a high performance street track tire, unbelievable tire. So they're on a very good tire. They're very well maintained. R6s, we have R6s as well. R7s, did I say that? So We have a variety,
Yeah.
and we just load up trailers and bring them out. You have to sign up for the school. I would say most schools fill up 3 weeks out. We're full with a waiting list 2 to 3 weeks out. So if there's a school you want to do, you better get to it. If there's a bike you want, get it ordered. Sometimes we have to say, man, sorry, you can only get that for day one because it's been rented, but we'll swap on day 2. So that's how it works. The Yamahas are insanely good. And I think probably every motorcycle these days is insanely good, but I can't believe how tough they are. It is just, we had a couple FC1s with 35, 40,000 miles, instructor miles on them, right?
Wow.
And they just ticking right along, just doing great. So I'm a huge believer in Yamaha.
Yeah. I have a 2019 XSR 900.
Ooh, very nice. Yep. What color?
And it's the silver.
Yep. Nice.
With the red stripe on it. I've had it since 2021. And I've enjoyed it. It was interesting going from an FJ 1200 to an XSR 900. That was literally the jump I made from one bike to the other. It was like learning to ride all over again with, fuel injection, traction control, ABS. Like, what is all this new stuff, man? Yes. It was wild, but I'm a big fan of that bike. And I think the MT-09 has the same crossplane 3, right? It's a similar engine. It's literally just gas and go. The thing just goes. I rode it to Sturgis and back a couple of years ago, and it just like it was nothing. So I'm a big Yamaha fan. I've got an old Honda as well, but I'm a big Yamaha fan, and it's cool that it's almost like, again, we can rent you the bikes. Do you rent equipment as well, like the gear and leathers and stuff?
Yeah, Dainese is our sponsor. Arai Helmets is our sponsor. Okay. And so we will put you in a Dainese suit, Arai helmet, and back protector, gloves, boots, everything you want. Most people bring their own helmet and gloves just because. But if you're not happy with your gear, and so what ends up happening is we'll have people fly into tracks they've heard of but never ridden before. Like they've heard of Homestead in Florida, and they live in Montana. They'll fly into Florida, rent bikes, rent gear, and just have a great time. So that is, we are truly fly and ride. I mean, fly in there and ride.
Yeah. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about earlier, where it's, you have the motorcycles, you have the gear, everything's well maintained, you have top tier coaching. The rest comes down to the rider.
It does. It goes very simple. And at the end of the second day, every student can ride all our bikes. So if you've always wanted to ride an R1, we'll have an R1 there. You can ride all these bikes. And we sell a lot of Yamahas. Let's just put it that way. I mean, people, honestly, have you ridden an MT-10?
No. A long time ago, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, basically, it's your XSR with another cylinder, right? It's got cruise control. Right. Yeah. It's got all the modes, all the weedy control, blah, blah, blah. So like 4 of instructors now own our own MT-10s because they're just so good. So a student will ride an MT-10 and go, "Oh my God, I'm getting one." So truly, it's a neat deal. So the bike idea, if anybody is on the fence about what to do, it is really fun to bring your own bike. You get to learn it, you get to feel it, you get to push it to its limits, a bike that you'll be on, for years to come possibly. So do that. But if that's a hassle, you don't have a truck, you don't have a trailer, you don't want to do it, you don't want to put good tires on it, then come ride ours because they are perfect. I mean, we have this operations crew that is just killing it. Ryan Whitman, a cowboy, we call Cowboy, one of our helpers, and Michael, those guys are killing it. So you'll show up there, the bikes will be perfect, tires perfect, chain lubed. I mean, they're ready to go.
Yeah. It's got to be cool to have that all kind of dialed in, because then you really, I imagine, get to learn how to really feel those bikes. I think one of the things that people don't, or that have trouble with kind of wrapping their head around, at least, and I do sometimes too, is that, like, how do you learn to like feel what a motorcycle is telling you?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I mean, how do you learn as a track rider, for instance? How do you learn when you go out on a cold tire when it's hot, when it's warm enough to stick? And it's something that's funny. I just was talking about that with Ryder Herman, one of our 16-year-old instructor, this great kid. I said, "Ryan, you need to feel this." We went on a cold morning. I said, "You need to feel the moment in which this tire starts to work. So let's work on that." So how do you do that? Well, one of the ways to do it is having good core strength, so you don't have a lot of weight on your hands. And Wayne Rainey, 3-time world champion, used to do 600 sit-ups a day. And he said, "I did 600 sit-ups a day because I want to be in this position with no weight on my hands." So core strength has to be a big thing. how you put weight into the fuel tank. Reg Pridmore, 2-time Superbike champion, was a big proponent of outside leg locked into the tank. Messing with that. That's a good way to do it, because if you have weight on the hands and you're gripping those handlebars super tight, you will never feel when the tire starts to work, because it is literally within the space of 100 yards. It starts to work. It goes from, ooh, something's wrong. This may not be my day. Maybe I don't want to ride anymore, to, oh, there it is. And off you go, because you start to feel that. And Ryder Herman he feels that now. He feels that when it comes in. So weight off the hands, core strength, leg locked in. And one of the things that you can start to do is to steer your bike into the corner with your outside leg. And Reg Pridmore talked a lot about this. You're not literally steering your bike with leg, but what happens when you push on that fuel tank, you tighten your core. You can even do it right now. You can even push your leg against your hand.
Literally just tried it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tighten your core. As soon as you tighten your core, weight comes off those hands. So now all of a sudden you're pushing that leg into that fuel tank, and those hands lighten up, and that bar starts to talk to you. So those are the kind of things that people ask about. Like, why is my initial throttle so abrupt? Is because you've got so much weight on that right hand and the right handers that you can't sneak open that throttle. Well, how do I get weight off that? Scoot back off the gas tank, tighten the core, outside leg, and then grunt like a fighter pilot. Grunt a little bit before you pick up your throttle, and all of a sudden that throttle becomes light. So those are things. Those are the things that you start to mess with 2 days, and because of rule number 5, where you have to ask for help for things, you can literally say, my downshifts aren't good. Why? Even though we go through the downshifting ideas, why are my downshifting not good? And we will show you. And you can jump on the back with the instructor, say, please upshift 2 more times on every straightaway and downshift 3 more times on every corner, so I can feel the downshifts on what you're doing. So those are the kind of things that Champ School is about.
So you just helped, I think, click something into my brain.
Yep.
I never thought about dominant hands on a motorcycle. So I'm left-handed. And I think it finally clicked why I never have had any struggles with like clutch control and throttle positioning, because my right hand is not my dominant hand. So I probably am naturally a little lighter on it. But my left hand is more dominant and more dexterous. So I can probably operate that clutch a little bit. Because I remember like at the basic course, like, you go, they have like, you do a turn and then you do like every other exercise has some sort of clutch control mechanism to it or section or whatever. And like people would stall out or they would like do the herky jerky stuff. But I just never had a problem with it. And I was like, maybe I'm just naturally good. Turns out I'm just left-handed.
Well,
so there's a benefit there, I guess.
Exactly.
That's fascinating, that just those little things, again, the granular stuff that most people probably don't think about.
Yeah, it is. It's crazy little things. And the beautiful thing is that you can watch people at the front of these races and you can learn from the people at the front of the races. You can learn from them. Don't watch people at the back. Don't watch people, 2 or 3 seconds off the pace. Look at people at the front, and that's truly what we study. And you start to see what they're doing with their hands. They're letting their hands rotate a little bit in the corner. And for riders that are street riders, not racers, watch how they put weight forward on the brakes. Watch how they put weight forward, because we'll say initial throttle, and initial brake is for weight transfer only. When you start to watch that, you see them come in. Watch when they run onboard data on the bottom of the screen. Watch how they come in. The brakes come off. The brake red comes down, and then the green just sneaks open. That's initial throttle, and that is only to put weight back onto that rear tire. That's only to squish out that rear tire against the pavement. So then the tire can tell you how much grip it has or doesn't have. So if you're like want to be a really good street rider, you'll realize that people who snap on the throttle are not winning national world championships. They can't win a club championship. But the people who win that stuff come off the brakes and sneak in that throttle. So all of a sudden, street riders realize, man, if I could be lighter initial throttle, my radius won't open as quickly. And the number one place we're dying on the street is running wide in corners, running wide all by ourselves in corners. That's the number one place. It's not the number one place we're crashing. That is intersections, not covering and never practicing. But in the corner, your initial throttle is so hard, the bike steering geometry rears back, and the bike is designed to run wide because your initial throttle is to run the bike wide. Initial throttle needs to be so gentle, the weight goes back, loads the rear tire, and doesn't change your steering geometry. So those are the kind of things that you can learn from watching the best in the world. And we just teach from that level.
Yeah. You bring up another interesting point about weight transfer. I think a lot of new riders probably never even think about that. I mean, because it's not taught really, I don't think. I mean, I don't ever remember learning anything about that. I took an advanced MSF course a couple of years ago just to be like, I think I'm a decent rider. Let's see, like if I stack up to what this course has, and I did pretty well. I thought I was happy with my performance, but that was the first time where they were talking about weight transfer or whatever, and I'm like, the more I hear about it and the longer I've been riding, it's an integral part of riding. I mean, it's just surprising that nobody really talks about it that much until you get to that higher level.
And there's a couple of interesting stories about weight transfer, but on a car, on a high performance car, like Formula One doesn't have springs. It's all, everything's deflecting. So their weight transfer is probably, I'm a Formula One fan, but I'm not an expert. But their weight transfer is probably maybe 30 mil, inch and a half, inch and a quarter, maybe. But we're transferring through 125 mil, 5.5 inches on an adventure bike, 6-7 maybe. So if you aren't thinking about weight transfer for the initial throttle and brakes, then you might be blown through that fork spring and blown through front tire grip. And it won't be a problem until it's a rainy night and it's almost sleeting. And now you snap on the brake and you lose grip. And you say, you're in the hospital and you say, well, I was in the sleet. It was sleeting. No, you actually blew through that grip because your initial brakes in our lingo was 20 points. So that's one problem. If you'll think about initial brake and throttle for weight transfer, that really helps. Also think about your initial steering is just to load that suspension. That really helps as well. Get your brain around it. And in this history of our school, we've had at least 4 students who admitted when they introduced themselves, they admitted the only reason they're there is because the only people beating them in their car racing career are motorcyclists. Isn't that interesting?
Really?
So they took this champion school only because they wanted to be better in their cars, race cars. And and one of the things they would tell us later is that I never thought about how I'm transferring weight to the front and to the back and to the side. So Cody Wyman, insane motorcyclist, but also very fast in a car, taught at the Corvette school in Pahrump. Cody Wyman always talks about, he goes, because we relate it to cars, because that's what so many of us do. He goes, if you go like that, you throw the weight onto the outside. If you'll go like that, you'll set the weight on the outside. And so those are the things we talk about. And it's so important. It's such a big thing that some of you out there have had crashes in the gravel. You spun the rear, whatever the situation was, not because your brake pressure or throttle pressure was too high, but because it was too quick.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about too fast of throttle, I just think about hearing stories from my dad who worked at a couple of motorcycle dealerships back in the day about people who would come through and buy like a Super Sport 1000 or something like that. And they were all jazzed up to ride it. And they did this and all the weight went to the back and they flipped the bike and it went right from the floor to the service department. And I've always, that always is in my mind about throttle response.
Exactly. I just read a story on social media somewhere, and the rider did that. He pulled out of the dealership on a new bike and spun it out and fell down. And he said that he went in and yelled at the service manager because the salesman and the service people should have scrubbed the tire for him. And I was like, no, dude, you had lean angle points and you had too many throttle points and added over to what the tire could take. And that sliding scale of points is really all we start to think about at the school. In fact, we introduce this idea of the sliding scale of points front and rear in the first 5 minutes. It's that big a thing. So we actually don't care how much of steering geometry or chassis geometry that the student understands, because it is not that complicated. It is not that complicated. Your 15-year-old niece can show up here and she will understand this, even though she's never thought about it before. She'll understand it because we'll show it and we'll explain it. And do people think Mark Marquez talks to his crew about the hysteresis of the tire, how it interlocks with the pavement today? No, he doesn't. He just knows that too much of this with too much lean angle spins the rear, too much of this with front brake tucks the front, and he plays with those numbers. So everybody, it's a lot simpler than you may have heard, and it's a lot more doable. If my instructor crew does a good job, you will be a good rider, a fantastic rider in 2 days. Maybe not speed wise, that's up to you, but understanding wise, you'll be on this path to then for the rest of your life to follow this path. And that's why we would do a conversation like this rather than me say, well, geez, the school does good and you should do it because we got Cody Wyman. It's like, no, you need to understand that it is very, very straightforward. How the bike maintains grip, how it steers, what happens under acceleration, very straightforward. And you mentioned Champ Street, because Champ Street is Our street program, it's 8 hours, street clothes, street bike, your bike. We've had Harley Davidson hand shifters show up, a hand shifted Harley. Of course, we all had to ride that. All the instructors had to ride that. Yeah. So hand shifted riders. And it's basically similar to our Champ Mill or Champ PD program. Champ Mill is Marine Corps. Champ PD is for these huge motorcycle riding groups, police officer groups. Champ PD, Champ Mill, and Champ Street are all 8-hour programs. How do we survive on the street? How does the bike need to be ridden? What are springs doing under braking? All the things that we're talking about in the show, because we need to get going here in the industry. We are not teaching things correctly, and when they're not right, you add speed to them, and it's a complete disaster.
Yeah, it's one of the things I've kind of found fascinated by you and doing some research and listening to some other shows is that you're not really afraid to. You don't call anybody out. I don't think specifically, which I think is respectable. But you don't shy away from the problems that you see in the industry or calling out bad information. Where does that come from? I mean, that's that you got to be kind of fearless to do that.
Well, I'm definitely not fearless, but this is my life. This is my life. It's how I make a living. It's how I met my wife. All my best friends are road racers. This is what I do. This is what I do. So to see someone doing it incorrectly and hurting my career really upsets me. You used to hear Cody Wyman talk about it. He's so upset about this stuff. I mean, he can't help it. He's so upset. All my guys are, because they see every new rider that gets taught incorrectly and quits for maybe because they have an accident or because they just think they're not good at it. Every new rider who quits will never show up at Champ School. They'll never buy Champ U. They'll quit. And there's one group that coaches people out, that they will take someone, and we've talked to these people. We've worked with these people. There is a guy in New Jersey, called me up in tears. I was driving to Willow Springs with my whole group in the van, driving to Willow Springs, called me up in tears. I just got kicked out of a new rider school. And he says, I already bought an FZ07. I have this dream. I want to ride. I just got kicked out. And I said, well, they invited you back. No, they said, this is not the sport for you. So I called my instructor in New Jersey, Nick Mathurin. And I said, Nick, would you do us a favor? Would you just work with this guy? It's probably going to be no pay. We just take him to a parking lot and get him rolling. Nick got him rolling. Now the guy is doing track days. He's riding street bikes. He's got 2 street bikes now. So he bought another street bike. He bought helmets. He bought gloves. He bought everything for the industry, right? So that guy, if he wouldn't have had the dream to ride no matter what. So everybody who's been coached out, and that's the saying, coached out. Are you pissed? This is your industry too.
I'm just surprised that that's so, like, why I mean, I guess there maybe is like a liability aspect to it, but just to tell somebody, this thing you're really passionate about and that you want to try, just don't do it. That's disappointing.
No, there's a God complex is what it is. There's like, oh my God, I'm so good at this that I'm going to tell you shouldn't do this. Kenny Roberts Sr., 3-time world champion, he said, the only thing you need to do well in the sport is desire. He says, I can teach you the rest. So we have literally never told a student since 1997 that they shouldn't ride. And we've had some very, very poor riders to start with. But if they have the desire, my instructors will work with them until the cows come home. We'll do 10 2-up laps. We'll do whatever it takes because we know they have the desire. But they know this is what they want. So everybody who's out there that hears this, or maybe someone who's hearing this that knows someone who's been coached out or has quit because of a bad experience, you got to start over again, and you got to start over the right way. If you don't want to come to a school, and it's Champ Street is $600, $700 on your own bike, on your neighbor's bike, in street gear, take all the Champ U programs, because you will see that there's a path to this. And that's the path that I got put on, thank goodness, by my father a little bit, definitely by Art Friedman, by Eddie Lawson, by these people who helped me. There's a path to doing this well forever. We have one instructor, and this, Rich Oliver, 250. He won. He never got beat for like 2 or 3 years in a row on 250. Scott Russell never got beat in 750 super stock. Ryan Burke, one of my instructors, he 3 or 5 years ago, he was never beaten in 600 or 1000 cc racing in Colorado, and he never fell down. So he never lost. He never fell down all year long. 23 track records he set. So everybody who's out there thinking, it's risky. I probably won't do it. I was told not to do it. I'm not very good at it. You're not doing it correctly, brother.
I can't believe That's just, I can't, it can't get it through my head, Nick. That's insane. To just an instructor, but maybe this isn't for you. I mean, there's maybe some things in the world that like, that may, it's like, maybe you shouldn't do this or being unsafe or something like that. But like, I'm just that.
Yes.
That's the fact of the show for me is I just, in a bad way, I can't believe that.
Yep. I'm sad over it. I feel sorry for those people. And this is not, there's two other instances I could think of. And I can document that people have been told that don't do it. Now they're riding because of us. So that is the way it goes. And so when you ask, why would I say this? I'm not calling out groups because I've tried to join the groups. We've put out Champion New Rider. We have done this stuff. And I will discuss motorcycling with anybody who wants to, as long as we are in a parking lot, at least back road or racetrack with a motorcycle. I will not discuss it over the internet. You don't see me on the internet discussing it because you can say anything you want. You can say you should set your speed before the corner. That's what you should do, you idiot. Why didn't you set your speed before the corner? And so a sidebar to that, I was at Marine Corps base, and we were starting to do this Champ Mill deal, pretty big deal. And it's become a huge deal, game changing for the Marine Corps. And I grabbed the lead instructor at the Marine Corps base, not one of our guys. And I said to him, hey, brother, what do you think the leading cause of these crashes are? And he said, oh, it's a lack of, what did he say? He said, oh, it's a lack of judgment. Okay. So the guys fixing our helicopters, the guys flying our helicopters, the guys putting bombs on the jet, and the guy flying the jet, and the guy making all the decisions for that are making bad decisions. That's what you're saying, bad decisions. I didn't say that to him. I just walked away, but he was 100% wrong. They're making bad judgment based on what they were taught. They were taught the wrong thing. They're taught, get off the brakes before you steer. They're taught to ride like this. They never practice their braking from freeway speeds, which you should practice your braking from freeway speeds, my brothers, girls, right? And so that's what's going on out there. So they're making their judgment based on these decisions. So that's pretty upsetting. So when we can get you Champ U for $60 to $100, we get you to Champ Street for $600. We can change your life. It'll be life changing. No one that I know of has completed one of our classes and said, I'm quitting. Nobody. Every one of them has said, I'm on the path now. I can seal this. And even listening to you and I talking, they're realizing, man, there are ways we can do this. We start by putting a tire on the ground and showing people what makes up grip. In the first 30 minutes of the school, they're seeing a rider ride in a circle, showing what deceleration, acceleration, and neutral or maintenance throttle does to the radius. So it gets going right away. In the first hour, people are literally coming up to us and saying, I now know why I fell down. So that's the game changing thing. And yeah, we're making a living, but I do feel like if we don't do it, no one else is doing it. I don't hear other people chasing this like we are. And if I can tell you one thing that I put in my notes here is the Washington Motorist Safety Training Group, WMST, led by this fantastic guy named Chris Johnson. Chris Johnson moved to America. He's from Britain. He saw the state of what's going on. He came to our school, came to a couple schools, and he incorporated our teaching into his New Rider program. So WMST in Washington State has put a Champ School curriculum into their New Rider schools for the last year and a half now. So now we have this data. The crashes in the training programs are down, I mean, hugely, like 300%. The crashes are down hugely in the training programs. And the number of riders who go on to get their license and buy a motorcycle is up. So everybody who's like, oh, this Nick guy, he didn't know about new riding training. Maybe I don't. I do, because I have dirt bikes here at my ranch that new riders ride, but whatever. Let's say I don't. We got the WMST through Chris Johnson and his group to prove it, that we can lower the crashes in training and we can increase the number of riders buying bikes when they're done with training. So, dude, the jig is up. We have now proven it rather than say, oh, that's just opinion. That's just philosophy. Now we have proved it through WMST and Chris Johnson. And anybody who wants to talk to him, he's the greatest guy in the world. He has the passion we have. He loves motorcycling. He's out there in it, and you need to grab a hold of that boy and get with it, because we need to change things. Anybody interested? Let's get some things changed here.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, data doesn't lie. That's for sure.
Boom.
For sure.
Yeah. Good.
So, well, I mean, to kind of wrap everything up on a positive note, which I feel like we're at now. You mentioned a couple times that you know the Champ School is game changing for a lot of people. It's just a 180 night and day difference, however you want to say it or whatever. But to kind of wrap everything up, do you have maybe one or two like kind of anecdotal stories in your mind that just live in your mind rent free of how impactful the Champ School's been for riders?
Huh. Yeah, a gazillion of them. I mean, it really is. And we'll talk about this. It'll set off alarms in the instructor group. Um, and first of all, the instructor group never talks about who's being an idiot, who's going to fall down. We're not that way. We don't sit back there and judge. We walk up to them and say, "You're going to fall down if you keep doing this. Fix it by doing this." And we show people. We videotape you every day, right? Both days you're videotaped. So it's game changing, but it really is not a bunch of people harping on it. Because that doesn't do any good. So,
Right.
But what sets off alarm bells at our school is any rider who's there for free. When someone like some dad comes because the dad loves riding and they drag their daughter along, we'll make sure the daughter hears the message that because he or she may not be that invested. If somebody says, "Oh yeah, my brother bought the school, but he can't make it, so I just came for free." We're like, let's get a hold of him because you got to have that investment, and you may not realize how badly it goes wrong. There's a guy named Phil Horowitz, right? Ended up coaching for us, ended up coaching for Ken Hill, ended up racing in Moto America. Phil Horowitz shows up at our school and he has full Rossi Dynacy stuff. He's a 36-year-old accountant. He'd never ridden a motorcycle. He bought an R6 and had to have it delivered because he could not ride a motorcycle.
Whoa.
He ended up coming to a couple schools. He did come to a couple schools. He ended up qualifying for nationals. He ended up teaching. He teaches up in Denver now. He's just one of our gang, right? He's one of our guys. Yeah. And so that's a perfect example of a guy that's had the passion and desire and but didn't know how to ride. And now it's happened because of YCRS. And then I know a lot of our instructors have told me, off the record that, so I won't name names, but they've told me that I saved their careers. I saved their careers. And that was nice just by hiring them. YCRS saved their careers, I should say, by hiring them. Chris Paris brought them in, however they came in. So that's been a big thing because you cannot win championships falling off. And you can go fast. Right. You can go fast. You can win races, but you gotta finish these races. And there'll be days you have a 5th place motorcycle, and if you try to make it a 4th place motorcycle, you fall down because it's not there. It's not right. And so those are the kind of things that we've heard over the years. And then there are just so many people now leading tours, coaching on the internet, doing riding techniques based on YCRS. I know Nate Kern will thank me every time he sees me. He came to Freddie Spencer back in the day. So there's a lot of appreciation for the school. And I don't want to say that we're perfect because I know that we've probably made some mistakes with students, but I do believe Rule 5, if people will keep in mind Rule 5, if they'll hear that if it's not going right for you, if the school's not helping you, you got to say, the school is not helping me. I need some help here because that will be the game changer. And we'll move things around to where it works for you because I didn't grow up rich. I know how much it is. It's a lot of money. Yeah. We understand that it's a chunk of change. But if you can give us 2 days or give us 1 day for Champ Street, if you could do that and we do a good job and you pay attention and try, just pay attention and try, it will be a game changer. It will change your life. And that people have written in, you could offer a money back guarantee. That's what people have written in. So if put that in your brain, anybody who's on the fence about it, maybe come to Champ Street, come to the Champ Street program and take that. We have started a company called FMT, Factory Motorcycle Training. And it is it's run by Champ School, but it doesn't have the Yamaha Champions Riding School name attached because there are some groups that want to work with us, but they can't sell it to their boss like we're going to have Yamaha come in. So we've had these high-end groups, well-known OEM groups of motorcycles and manufacturing parts hire us to come in and work with their group or come to the school under FMT. And that's a big thing too, because we will start to do, like if you have an Aprilia, we've got some Aprilia schools starting to happen through FMT to try to spread the love and spread the message and split the group and get things going. So there's a lot of ways to get to us. And like you and I, we have this passion. Like we're never going to not ride, right? That's what we just love riding. It's your career now. You're making millions of dollars doing these podcasts.
Clearly, yes.
Yes. So if that's your decision, if motorcycling has given you that, like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. This is what I should be doing. Even if you were terrible at it, give us a chance. Cause I bet you money, you were in the throttle when you should have been in the brakes. I'll bet you money. I bet you had on 4 point the throttle when you should have 1 point of throttle. I know it. I bet your body was in the wrong position. Your eyes were in the wrong position. I know we can prove it to you based on data.
I love it. Well, I think that's a great note to end on. This has been a hell of a conversation, Nick. So thank you for the extended time. Before we let you go, where can people learn about Champ School, sign up, learn more about you, all that kind of stuff? Yeah,
thanks. It's champschool.com. And that's all the information's on there. You can spend hours going through that. Champ U is a biggie, man. That's a big deal. I mean, that is a big deal, because there'll be some things in there that are literally going to save your life. They'll be like covering the brake is a big deal. We give you a how to practice braking drill. Instead of saying you should go practice your braking, if you go out and practice your braking and you stab the brakes on a non-ABS bike, you fall down on the very first braking run. So we go through all that on how to practice your braking. So Champ U is a game changer, and it's a small, it's what some people are spending on Starbucks in a week, $60.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing. So champschool.com, Champ U, get on there. We have a YouTube channel as well with a lot of small little deals. The YouTube stuff the reason we did Champ U is because YouTube stuff, we would jump in on one subject. Like we would say, at lean angle, when you initiate brakes, you've got to let the fork spring set, and people writing, you can't brake at lean angle. So we would, you can.
Comment section gets a little wild.
Oh yeah. Like, so we started to start from the very beginning in Champ U to the very end. So Champ School. And then, all our information's on there. I'm not on social media very much. But I'm Nick at Nick Champ School. I think my name is Nick Champ School. I'm on Facebook, but don't be my friend unless you'll come paint my house. I think that's what friends do. So, so I'm not on there much, but I think that's how you get a hold of us. And it's if this is what you love and this is your deal, this is what you feel like you're on in the world to do is ride motorcycles. Give us a day or two with your body.
There you go.
Yep.
All right, Nick. Well, thank you so much. I can't wait to talk to you again.
Yeah, Mark. Thank you, man. You're killing it here. Appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks for listening to Driven to Ride. Interact with us and check out full unedited conversations, photos, interviews, video interviews, plus other goodies on YouTube or Instagram at Driven to Ride Podcast. Or you can check us out at driventoridepodcast.com. And make sure you leave us a rating and review from wherever you get your podcasts, too. If you have an idea for an episode or a guest, or you want to invite us out on an adventure, email us, hello@driventoridepodcast.com. Driven to Ride is wholly owned by Flint Rock LLC, made possible with help from Matthew Miles, and written, hosted, and produced by me, Mark Long. We'll see you out there.